At $100 per question. If you want to raise your hand.
But actually, do raise your hands and I will call on you. But it'll be free.
It'll be free?
Yeah.
How does that convert to USD? We're freer than you guys. I'm not getting invited back, am I?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It'll be a comedy show next time.
I know,
Stand up.
right?
There's already a first question from Glenn, so I'll just get started.
Yeah. So people have been asking for a game with the playable Zelda for quite some time. Do you think it's time to set Link aside, and what would you like to see if?
I think it's time to set Link aside. I mean, it's pretty hard to set Link aside. He's kind of a main staple guy. I also say like Hyrule Warriors. You know, they have playable Zelda, so that has actually occurred.
I was literally gonna bring that up if you didn't, and she's a badass in that. Like the very first time you see her, she's like.
You've played a lot of her, haven't you?
Yeah. She's got all kinds of different weapons in that, but she's immediately in charge of the kingdom. She's on the front lines, and I was gonna say we got the CDI games. We had a game featuring Zelda way back when. Yeah, you understand. So
yeah.
I think that I'm glad that they're not as afraid to give other characters the limelight nowadays, and I think it's always really cool when Zelda takes the fray because she's really quite powerful. Even if she doesn't start out confident in Breath of the Wild, it's like there's no shame in feeling the weight of the expectations placed upon you, but that means when she finally takes control of that power and puts it to use, it's a really empowering moment. So I think it's really cool.
Well said. Rivali/Deku. Yeah. With all the wisdom.
Rivali cares for Zelda. He doesn't care so much for Link, but
you can tell.
we need Zelda teaches typing. Mario did it. Now we need Zelda to do it.
She should teach like font writing.
Yes,
like all the different
I'm
kinds
so
of,
envious of your ability. Every time you get your paws on someone's print first before I do, I'm like, yeah, well, I can draw Triforce. Spent all of calculus doing that.
Just
so.
talking about Hylian. I write in Hylian. So.
She taught herself the script and can just write it without looking up a guide. It's impressive.
You're going so far off topic.
I'm so sorry.
But no, I know it doesn't matter. But
just wait till she learns how to summon the ball of light. She's working on that too.
In real life,
yes.
Yeah. Right now, all I can summon is like Play-Doh and cake and things like that. But,
I've got a question from Connor.
So of course in Tears of the Kingdom, Link basically replaces arm with like a super-powered arm. If you could replace one of your limbs with anything, what would it be?
Ooh, I'm not sure the first one that would Sean, because I feel like
this is either going to be really fun or really stupid. I've entertained that question before because I ask people if each of your 5 fingers could shoot like a different liquid out, like, and it's fresh, like it's hot chocolate, it's coffee, it's whatever. What are the 5 drinks that you would want? So for me, it was like orange Fanta and like something else. If I could replace the arm, when I was younger, I was a big Full Metal Alchemist person. So like the whole idea of the automail arm and just having something that, you have to get it repaired, but there's not really like the pain receptors and stuff like that. But that was more of an interest in like the alchemy sort of things than the replacement of the arm. So it's hard to ask of like what I would replace it with, because it's like, does it really matter what you replace it with if what you want is the power that comes with it? If it's the psychokinetic powers, or if it's like an elemental thing. There's an anime called, is it Escriad? I don't know how it's pronounced, but the dude in that has kind of like a power glove arm, where it's got like this red casing with like spikes that go up the back, and I don't know if it actually does anything functional, but I would definitely want to punch someone with it on. It looks like it's really cool,
Vines.
Yeah, that too.
Helpful, yeah.
You can just grow trees from it and grow vegetation. It'd be really cool.
I thought one of you was going to throw a rolling pin or a sword as an arm.
Oh, like a material object.
I've already done the Assassin's Creed. I've already had like a blade.
Okay.
Grow trees.
If I wouldn't replace the arm, but I would like to do like one of those Assassin's Creed like switchblades that are like run along the inside of your forearm. So like if I ever end up in a bad situation, you like push a button and it flicks, and you're just like, all right, let's go, let's tussle.
Even a plastic one.
I would get beaten up very quickly, but it's fun to pretend.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. So how has your performance changed between the two Zelda games, between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? You both have different roles to an extent, especially Patricia as Zelda. How has your performance changed?
I would say, I mean, it's certainly evolved from the first one. I think she had more wisdom and a lot more experience, and I think that kind of shows up between Breath of the Wild and then also Hyrule Warriors, and by the time you get to Tears of the Kingdom, even though they're not chronologically supposed to be part of the same world, they still are part of that same world. So I feel like I was able to spend some time actually expanding upon the work that I did in the first game, and also new script, new director, new team, like partly at least. That always changes the feeling that you get in a room and what you're going to do with it. So you are also going by that script, and what they offered for the third game, or for the sequel. Sorry, was a really exciting palette. Obviously no spoilers, but for people who, it was very exciting to be able to evolve through that.
People won't be surprised at all because Rivali is a sarcastic jerk, but I've often said that I wish I had known what we learned when recording for the DLC of the first game back when we were recording for the main game, because from the recording process, we weren't always given everything in chronological order, so there's a lot of stuff I figured out towards the end. I'm like, oh, okay, this makes more sense in regards to this. When I came in to record for the DLC and we got that background info, I was like, oh my god, it all makes so much more sense now. And then by the time, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came around, I very much understood the characters from different perspectives at that point. So for me, it was kind of, from a performance perspective, it was interesting seeing me go from just kind of figuring this out as I went along, much like Link would, to by the time we were in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, I was so in tune with the characters that switching between Rivali and Teba was easy. It was actually kind of impressive even to me, because there's a cutscene where they talk to each other, and people who don't know are like, I didn't know that you voiced both of them. But for me in the booth, I knew them so well by then that it was just, are we doing Rivali's lines? Okay, now into that. Are we doing Teba's lines? Okay, now into that. And you would think it was two completely different people. So it's a good example of how, as actors, we really appreciate having as much info as possible, not because we want to spoil it for anyone, but because if we understand motivations, if we understand backstory, it makes it so much easier to make educated choices about why we are saying what we are saying in a way that will convince the player base as well.
Yeah, that is a great point. Yeah, and even just, I think, what happens outside of a game over years, we went through a pandemic and all these things, and then coming back to a role, especially in a sort of dystopian universe like that, you can kind of add parts of your life from outside and inside, and it's all just a little more rich as it goes along. It's really cool.
Did you have a question?
So there are lots of people out there who really want to see more of Tingle in a new Zelda game. If we got a game starring Tingle again, who would you want to act alongside and see voice that role?
Oh my god.
Keanu Reeves. Easily Keanu Reeves.
I'm gonna go with that too.
He does all his own stunts,
Reeves.
man.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, because I can explain this in detail, because I was playing Hyrule Warriors. First of all, you know who Tingle is as a character,
Yes.
yeah? So the
I had a
funniest thing
great
to me...
cosplayer recently come up as Tingle.
The funniest thing to me is, as a team, we're like, who is this creepy man in my Zelda game? I want nothing to do with him. And as 30-somethings, we're like, that is life goals right there. That man is living his best life, dressed up however he wants. He's got the butt wiggle that he does when he runs. In Hyrule Warriors, when you run with him...
So you want to see Keanu Reeves do the butt wiggle,
Yes!
Is that what you're saying?
When you run as him...
I'm not saying that you're saying that, just to throw that out
When
there.
you run as him, with every gallop, he goes like, hoo, hoo, hoo. He does like little funny noises, and there's confetti coming out of his backside at the same time. And I think Keanu is someone who does like basically all his own stunts. If he can waggle his buttocks like that, move over, Tay-Tay. I'm sorry, new favorite.
I'm gonna leave that there.
Hi. I was just wondering what the influences were behind your voices in the game.
You will definitely want to go first.
I've answered different things for this, initially. So initially when you go in for the very first audition, when I didn't know what it was, I did think of Emma Watson and other voices, just to kind of as a very vague reference, but it's sort of not exactly where it ended up. Once I got the audition and I started recording the lines, it sort of just kind of becomes your own, where it sits well in you and what makes sense with the urgency that's coming out of that. And I suppose there's, on some level, I studied in London at one point years ago. I did a master's degree over here of classical acting. Right, so I'm sort of, I use a little bit of inspiration from that and a little bit of inspiration from other things I've done on stage, just to a loose amalgam of things.
I looked up London in Wikipedia once, so it's pretty much the same thing. I think I got a lot of inspiration. No, I'll try and make this faster because I was blessed beyond words to have 3 characters, rather than just the one.
Just the one.
No,
It really. I was like, why didn't they give me other characters?
I'm a people pleaser. I try and fill the gaps when people need it, but it's a wonderful story for me to tell when I get the chance to do it in long form, because Rivali Teba and the Great Deku Tree, which many people don't realize I also voiced, was the perfect mix of like stuff that was new to me, stuff that had a challenge that I overcame, and stuff where I had utter confidence in what I was doing. Rivali was probably the most difficult because, as I said, I didn't quite understand his motivations yet, and so it was hard to get the level of grounded realism that they wanted for him in the English dub compared to kind of the more eccentric showmanship that he was doing in the Japanese. And I struggled with that for a while, but that was where I learned to work with the team and let them guide me where I needed to go until I felt confident taking over the reins for myself. The Great Deku Tree was a perfect example of like finding the confidence in myself, because originally when we did callbacks, they had us prep up to 3 character voices, and originally when I did 2, they said great, thanks, and I asked if I could do my 3rd, and they asked who it was, and when I said the tree, they were like, oh, we got big guys for that, we got people, big hefty. And it was the first time in my professional career that I politely but firmly went, that's great, you told me to prepare 3, I'd like to do my 3rd character, please. And so now it was like, now you better have made a strong choice for this. And I knew I couldn't do the same big baritone voice that someone with a bigger chest could do. So instead I went, what does old and wispy and wise sound like? And that's why how I came up with relaxing myself and going all the way down here, this very wide open mouth. And that blew them away because
it's just a
right,
great,
it's
yeah,
surprising.
lovely.
And then Teba was the one where it was like, this is so funny to me, because when I saw his design in my brain, I went, I know exactly what he sounds like. There's a similar character, but it's a different personality, using that info to make those adjustments. And I laughed because back then it was just me being excited, going, oh, I know what he sounds like to me. But in reality, it was me telling a big corporation, shh, sit down, I got this. And then doing it and them going, yeah, that works for us, it's pretty good. So it's crazy to think about, but that's the element of play that we as actors enjoy so much is, we may not have the artistic ability all the time to create, what's just a thought in our heads and then put it onto paper, but to see something and be able to give it life through our voice and make it more real to people, that's so exciting.
So exciting.
Great Deku Tree has not had an English voice since the beginning of the Legend of Zelda franchise, and it is unreal to me that out of 7.85 billion people, it's a lot of pressure. But you gotta let the excitement and the passion take over, because if you think about it in that term, you're gonna get too scared to take a leap.
Earlier I said I want vines coming out of my arm. I actually want the Great Deku Tree coming out of my arm. There we are.
Right?
I could
900
grow
Korok
one
kids.
on my arm.
Just shoot a spray of Korok seeds at people.
Just like all over the place.
Next question.
So with news of a Legend of Zelda movie on the horizon, who would you like to see play your roles? Obviously, with ones that would be CG, would you try to elbow in, be like
Keanu
cast
Reeves. Chris Pratt, no. As who?
Yeah.
Anyone.
Any of your roles, who would you like to see play them in the movie?
I can't actually answer that seriously. Like I won't
Who do people want as
Sounds like
Cable in the
okay.
Deadpool movies? He's got like a very chiseled face, grey
Oh,
beard.
Josh Brolin.
Stephen Lang was what the fan
Oh,
cast
Stephen
was.
Lang was
Stephen
the fan
Lang.
cast, yeah.
I don't think, was it Stephen Lang?
Josh Brolin was him in the movie.
Josh Brolin played him in the movie, but
Okay.
the fans wanted
I want him.
Stephen
I want him for Darunia, or for like one of the Gorons. I feel like he could do a really good job with that.
Who would you like to see? I'm curious because I get this question sometime, and I'm like, it's not really something that I would answer about like who do I see as a. I feel like Nintendo knows what they want, and Miyazaki films, influence plus the director Wes Ball and Shigeru Miyamoto heavily involved. Like they're gonna come up with something awesome, I'm sure. But so I'm just like I'll wait and see like whatever that's going to be.
Right. We try to not to ever make any assumptions, because I'm sure a lot of people wonder, would you come back for the movie? First of all, that's not our decision to make. But we are always grateful for the chance to get to reprise roles, but we also understand that different companies want to make different decisions about different things. So
I'd play anything with Nintendo ever. Like I love working with them.
Yep.
Yeah. voice of
So.
Korok. You know.
We often
seriously.
we learn at the same time as everybody else. So yeah.
Jack, any questions back?
Yeah, going back to Tingle, if it
You're gonna
ties
make me do the
ties
wiggle
in.
on camera at this
If they
point.
did live action, they turned around to you, Sean went, "We want you to be the live action Tingle. Would you do it?"
There you go. There you go. Listen, I've been in the Under Armour, I've been in the skin tight single color suit. I've watched those videos. Put me in, coach. I will do the audition. I think I'm a little tall for the role. I think they have some better options, or they can always CGI, but I like authenticity whenever possible. But never say never, you know? Try everything once.
Mocap suits are really similar to.
I would
Tingle
want
in a
them.
way, too.
I would want them to
Mocap
rig
little-
the firecracker confetti like in the butt crack, so that when I jut it out at the last little hip thrust, that it, you know, goes out like that.
Yeah, how difficult is it to voice your characters, considering that Link is mostly silent besides like types and grunts? And who would you like to see voice Link?
She probably wishes I was mostly silent during these interviews.
I'm a silent princess. You make up for it. It's all fine. It's great.
Right.
It's funny. I actually never have a clear vision for who I think Link should be. I see the animated drawing and I'm like, that's Link. I don't think about it too much. It's weird. Yeah. What was your other question? Was what? Sorry.
If it's difficult to voice act
difficult to
alongside
voice
just
act.
yeah.
Everything that we do in terms of dubbing and so much video game work, it's all done where most of it is done without other people in the room. So
Sometimes we don't even have contextual lines surrounding our
True.
characters, where we will get the info from the director on what context the line has, but there are times when we will get the whole scene and we can see who we're responding to. There are times when it's literally just a sheet of our characters' lines, like 200, 250, and we just go through them one by one with no surrounding context.
Yeah.
So for many games, if it sounds like everyone was in the room having the actual conversation with each other, that just means it's a bunch of really good actors who know how to make it sound realistic.
And editors and people of the team who choose
Yes.
which intonation of which take that they want to put together. So it almost would be strange to have reactions of two people, because so often you are just giving several variations of a line, and then they sometimes are choosing this long after the fact or changing it around based on what they need at that time. So it makes more sense to be able to just actually take direction in a room and imagine. That would almost be better sometimes than having somebody to react out directly.
I would almost argue that in a franchise like Zelda, where the protagonist is known for being silent, that it's almost a little easier to kind of play up characterizations, because I've always treated, especially Breath of the Wild, I treat it as Nintendo's version of Mad Max, where the story is never really about the main character, it's about the world that the main character is involved in. You know, in Mad Max...
What do you mean?
What?
Just kidding.
I'm like, is there something wrong? You know, they explore, they discover a tribe or a group or someone that has their own issue, they find out what the issue is, they assist those people, and then here's the important part, they move on. And it's that kind of moving on and leaving them behind that goes, oh, there was that experience, and it leaves you, the viewer, the player, with like, but I enjoyed that world. I wonder what else they get up to. And that kind of, that longing, that passion, that desire to wonder what if is what keeps the project alive beyond what, you know, what the main character does, because it's not about them. It's about everyone that they've gotten involved with over their time. So.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry, I think there's a scheduling clash. You need to be at your next appointment.
Oh, do we have photo ops or something? Anyway.
But thank you so much. You were wonderful. The questions and the
Thank
answers
you.
were great.
I hope
so
you
thank
all practice
everyone.
your hip thrusts and your butt checks for me.
Yeah.
I want to see all of you in that audition room. Team Tingle, baby.
Team Tingle.
Give them the tingle.
We need a shirt that says that, actually. We should wear it.
I want a shirt that says,
Team
I'm going to give
Tingle.
them the tingle. We'll see how that goes.
Chris is going to have a great time with that.